Welcome back, everyone, from all my friends from Endless Horizons Hunting. It's been a while since I posted a video, and I thought I'd get back with everybody and apologize for not putting out a video. The rut was a crazy, this past rut was a crazy one for me. I'll explain here in just a little bit, but again, I apologize for not putting out a video in the last few weeks, but wanted to put out a video today, something a little different. I wanted to do a rut review, and then also I've had some people ask me what kind of gear I use while I hunt, so I just thought I'd show you some of the tools of the trade that I've been using. So let me get back to what I was saying. The first, I had some good hunts right around the last week of October, right around Halloween. Mainly, it was kind of the pre-rut. Had, as you saw in my previous video, a lot of small signs, a lot of signs, but they were like 1.5 deer, maybe 2-year bucks, traveling all over the place. Thought I had them pinned down, which I did, but didn't see them during daylight, which was kind of odd. I was mainly hunting in the morning, so can't believe I didn't see some coming back to bedding, but did see some deer, a couple doe, but with that, I was basically waiting to see those big bucks and get into my rut stand. The first November, what would have been the first week of November, would have been November 6th, 7th, and 8th. In my opinion, they're the 3 best days to hunt the rut here in northeastern Ohio. So I pretty much planned my whole year around those last 2 weeks of October, first 2 weeks of November. And with that being said, I got in there November 6th, got into my rut stand, and I have to tell you, it was the single best hunting day of my hunting career. And I believe I started hunting with archery and shotgun roughly, I'm going to say 1983. I had the winds right. I set that stand, oh geez, back in June of last year, and I planned for that. I stayed out of that area until, like I said, November 6th, went back in there, and basically I saw 5 mature bucks. I mean, very mature northeastern Ohio bucks, all within 40, 45, 48 yards of my stand, all within like 2.5, 3 hours. It was incredible. And unfortunately, I got caught sitting in my stand, and a doe with a yearling buck came out, and she was right beneath me. She very mature doe. I would have definitely taken that doe, and she'd have been in the freezer, but I was sitting. She come right out of this thicket. I was right on the back side of the sacred grounds. I was about 20 yards from the back side of the property where the property divides. So she came out like I planned. She came out of this thicket back there in the neighboring property, came right beneath my stand. I mean, I could have tossed an arrow at her, but she didn't see me, but there was no way. I tried. There was no way I could get up out of my seated position on my tree stand without being busted. So I just sat there and watched her leisurely go away. But then she paused, and sure enough, she paused, and I finally stood up, had an arrow and knocked, and was getting ready to draw on her, and something made her take off. She didn't see me or anything, but she trailed off it back into bedding. So I also had, so that was that, but I also, during that time, I had a very mature 12-point. I'm assuming it was a 12-point. I didn't count all the racks. That's not why I hunt. But there was a lot of points. Beautiful, beautiful buck. This was the following day. I'm getting ahead of myself. But so the following day, after I had that wonderful sit, saw all those bucks. I go in there the next day. This was November 7th, and I'm thinking, oh, this is it. I'm going to get the buck of a lifetime. Because they were all around me, it was prime time rut in northeastern Ohio. It was insane. Weather couldn't have been better. Everything was picture perfect archery day. basically, that female with her yearling buck popped back out the same spot, maybe about 12, 15 yards down the bench row a little bit. She comes popping up out of there, and I knew something had pushed her, and I'm standing up at this point, and I'm reaching, I keep my bow hung on my left side. I'm swinging around getting my bow. Sure enough, out comes this 12-point buck, and beautiful deer. He comes out broadside, and I grunted to get him to stop, and he didn't stop because he was scent trail, scent checking that doe. So he went up, and I don't know, about 15 yards, came into the sacred ground property. I'm excited. I'm like, I got this shot, right? So anyhow, I grunted again, I get him to stop. He finally stops, and of course he stops behind this big bunch of oak trees, and the only shooting window I had was his belly. And I'm not, you guys know from my channel, I'm a very ethical hunter. I'm going to try to be, and I'm definitely not going to take that shot. So he stood there for what seemed like a lifetime, but it was probably only 2-3 minutes. And then she took off, the doe took off back into the bedding, and he followed her, and then he was cornering away, so there was no way I could draw an arrow on him. But incredible. So what I ran into is I come home and I tell my friends and my family of that story, and then basically what happened, my season pretty much came to a devastating pause. My wife will be married 30 years coming up this August, this summer. She had some health complications and needed to be rushed to the hospital right during the peak of the rut. Now mind you, there's things that are much more important than deer hunting, that's for sure. But and she needed to go to the emergency room, so she was admitted for a couple days. Long story short, she was okay. She comes back home, everything was okay, but she needed somebody to stay with her for a while. We don't have children by choice, and so basically I had to, I took 2 weeks off right during the rut to be with family and be with my wife and make sure she was healthy and everything worked out for her, which was very much more important than hunting. But now that it's over and she's fine now, just to let all the friends of EH know, she's doing fine, and it was just hypertension issues, some medication issues. So she's doing good now. So after all that happened, I'm basically thinking to myself, well, I got gun season, because I'm an archery hunter first and foremost, but I have a crossbow, I have a compound bow, I have a slug gun. In Ohio, we're only allowed to use, during gun season, we're only allowed to use slug barrels, shotgun. So I'm like, I'm going to put all my efforts into the 7 days of the gun fest, we call it. So I go to do that, go out there first day, gun season. I go back out to that rut stand because I know the deer are hot out there. Hopefully I get another shot at a doe, anything, anything that's legal, mature. Sure enough, I see another buck right when sunlight's coming up. He's walking the property line. He's on the adjacent property at the backside of the sacred grounds, and he's on a neighboring property, which I do not have permission to hunt. And people ask me, well, why are you hunting so far back on that property? Because the sacred grounds is just under 400 acres. And I'm like, well, this is where the deer are at. And I stayed out of this particular area for 2 years, 2 seasons for this opportunity, so, because the big bucks and the deer, as everybody knows, they're where humans are not. So here comes this buck, this poor guy. He was a nice sized deer. I don't know if it was a 10, 12, 13, non-typical 14, 13 point, I don't know. It was a big deer, wide beams, real mature, dark base of the antlers, but he was so tired. He's dragging tail, and I felt sorry for the poor guy. I took my safety off, and I have a scope on my Ithaca, and I put the crosshairs on his heart, and I'm just hoping he'd cross onto our property. And of course he doesn't. And I watch and he stops, and I could see his heartbeat, you know, his chest heaving and everything. And boy, I tell you, those deer, those bucks, it's true what they said, come toward the end of the rut. The mature deer, the mature bucks, they have just been run to the ground. This poor guy, he was huge. I bet you a month before that, or 3 weeks or so before that, he was probably a 280, 290 pound deer, but he had lost all that mass and weight from, you know, what the deer do, what the big bucks do during the rut. He was just had other things on his mind than food. So I'm kind of glad I didn't get a shot opportunity. I grunted, rattled, did all that stuff you're supposed to, you know, you try to do. He didn't take any mind to it, and he turned off and went further into the neighboring property. So that was my opening gun season, and I had seen so many deer in those little sits that I had. Like I said, it was a benchmark couple sits for the rut in my career. I mean, it was magical. So then I come home, the next day I come home from that sit, opening day on gun season. I come home, second day I go back out. I'm like, well, I'm going to at least get a doe, put some meat in the freezer. I saw a doe. Long story short, wasn't able to get a shot at her. She was quartering away. I didn't want to get a gut shot on her. So I'm driving home. Darn gas tank on my pickup truck. The strap rusted. Gas tank falls off of my my pickup truck. So now that truck is one of my tools for hunting. So my truck was down for almost 2 weeks. So to sum it all up, my 2021 deer season, was unable to fill a tag, which is kind of rare for me, and but I saw more deer in those 6 or 8 sits that I had sat in than I ever had in my life. So I walked away with a lot of knowledge. My health, my safety, I'm good. My wife's healthy back home. So I still have my gear set out there. I have a nice ground blind set up, where that's usually the only time I use my crossbow, because I have such a long draw and all of those types of things. It's just the crossbow fits in that scenario much better. So I've been dragging my feet. The weather's I've had opportunities to go back out there in the weather, but I'm waiting for it to get the temperatures to get a little worse. And basically, I have a trail camera set up there that's a cellular camera. First time I ever owned one, which is a wonderful tool if it's legal in your state. Wow, what a game changer. I used to spend so much time sitting and ruining my hunting location, you know, putting down scent and noise, you know, and not seeing anything. So in a way, this new trail camera setup with the cellular signal, I just look at the camera, the app, and I'm like, well, no deer movement, no deer movement. I look at this, that, and the other. And so basically what I'm saying is, when I'm going to go by that trail camera, and when it tells me to get back out there, I got another month left, I'm going to go out there again with my crossbow and try and get that done and fill the freezer. So that was pretty much that. That'll wrap that up. I'm going to now show you some of my gear, because I've had some comments. People want to see some of my gear. I'll show you some of my tools of the trade. And before I do that, thank you everybody for your time all season, bearing with me. Also, my next sit that I go out on with my crossbow and my ground blind, and also this spring for turkey season and next year's hunt, I found out a way where I found out a way to, I've always said in my videos, I don't want my filming to take away from my hunting. I want to bring my friends and family of Endless Horizons along with me, but I don't want it to overshadow what I'm doing. So I use little action motion cameras, and I figured out, I don't know why it took me so long to do this, but I figured out putting good batteries in it and large micro SD cards. I'm just going to set it up in my tree stand or blind or by there and just let it roll for the 3, 4, 5, 6 hours that I'm out there hunting, and hopefully I can catch some of these magical moments for you guys, and it will entice you guys to stick with Endless Horizons channel more. that said, we got a lot of good things to look forward to. Hope everybody's having a happy new year. I'm going to get off my little stool here, grab my camera, and I'll walk you through some of my gear. So give me a second, please. Thank you. Okay, what we have here is this is my compound bow, as you can see. I run a PSE Evolve. It is a 31-inch axle to axle, which some people that may not know, that's just the measurement from the center of this cam to the center of that cam, and that gives your axle to axle. This is a 2017 model. I have it maxed out. It has 60-pound limbs. I'm 51 years old, and that is way more than enough for me. And this setup here will definitely take care of any large game animal in America. I run a what I'm gonna say, that's a 7-inch or so, just a limb saver stabilizer. Not sure of the amount of weight that's on there. I have a drop away rest, which I really like. This is a cheaper, I believe it's a Hunter model. It's a or it's a quad, yeah, ultra quad rest. I don't know if I can pick that up. It's the cheaper model, but I'll tell you what, the thing's taken deer. It's been iced over. Works great for me. I don't have any trouble. I shoot out to 60 yards in my backyard when I practice, and it does a wonderful job. So I got some new strings set up on there this year. Shout out to my buddy Joe at Autumn Addicted Archery in Cortland, Ohio. He hooked me up with that. I believe the name of these strings are Times 60. I think that's the name of the strings. Really good strings, not a whole lot of creep. They did very well. Of course, you got the factory changed out the color, the little dampeners. And I'll tell you, this compound, I don't see any reason for me to upgrade it anytime soon. I mean, unless the aluminum riser or the limbs cracked or something, it's going to be with me for a long time. It's you know, it's one hell of a tool. I also have a lighted single pin sight. This sight is made in Ohio. Got a little leveling system in there. Got the yardage tape out here. Some people don't like the single pin sights. I particularly do. It's I'll put a link to the name of this site. I can't think of the name offhand. I apologize for that. I'll put a link in a description link for that, because it's a very good site for the money. I think I bought it 2 years ago, or 3 years ago. I think it was under $60, and the quality, it's all aluminum. It's very light. It's very comparable with HHR, which are, oh goodness, double that money. So I had to do some machining work to get it to fit my riser. Very minimal, you know, just some trimming. I apologize, you can't see all that, but okay. So that's my setup for my compound. This is my little archery setup here. So here's my crossbow. Everybody can tell what that is. That is a 2007 micro 335 made by Excalibur. Great crossbow. I got little flip up things for the scope. I painted this scope. This is an Excalibur scope. I painted this all myself. Just put some camo on it. I like to tinker with my stuff. I don't really leave anything stock. I put my own string on there. I mean, I didn't make the string, but changed it out. I will say, this is my second Excalibur crossbow. My first one I bought was in 2000. It was a 2012 model, I believe, when I bought it. It was a Excalibur Ibec, I believe it was, 305, wide body, wonderful crossbow. I'll say this, I believe it was more accurate than this. I believe it was more accurate than the Micro series. And definitely, it didn't have any limb issues. But it was so wide, it was so wide. So, I went with I decided to, I sold it and used the money to upgrade to this. Was it a mistake? I don't know. I love this bow. There's this crossbow. I will say I did have the limb failure. This is the second pair. I had to replace the limbs once. So these limbs have been replaced once. I did put I got some disabilities. So this I put the crank on here, the Excalibur crank. It really helps. It really helps me. So, you know, with the limb issues with Excalibur, these are the second gen upgraded limbs. Hopefully they last and I don't have that issue again. It's very simple to switch them out. Excalibur's customer services is second to none, so I don't have an issue with that, but I sure as heck wouldn't want my limbs to fail the day before a trip or during an Alaskan trip that I spent my whole life saving for and preparing for and have failure. So take that for what it is, but I do love my Excalibur crossbow. The reason I said it's not as accurate as the wide body, I guess the best way to describe it is it's so much more, everything's micro, everything's shorter, width is decreased, everything's in. You got a lot of forward mass weight here with any crossbow, unless you got the reverse limb setup. But you know, who's spending $2,000 to $3,000 for a crossbow? I certainly am not. So this crossbow is very accurate, but it just seems like it's a little, when it's got a great trigger in it. I polished the trigger and all that myself, and it's got a good trigger, but it's jumpy, it's narrow, you know. So, but boy, you put it on a bench, and this thing, I can group 1.5 inch groups out at 60 yards. So great crossbow. Okay, so with that said, that's about it. No need to show you my Ithaca. My channel is basically about archery equipment, but my Ithaca that I run during deer season, it was my father's. It's very special to me. He passed away in 2010. I believe it's a 1966 or 1967 Ithaca Model 37 Featherlight Deer Slayer, 12 gauge. It's a lot of words, isn't it? But well, anyhow, so that'll about wrap this up. I hope everybody is having a safe new year and a good start. Hope your tags are filled and your freezer's full. I hope everybody is healthy. And again, please, if you like this video, share it with somebody. Give me a like. Leave some comments. Hit the notification bell. It means a lot to me and my channel, and I promise I'm gonna get some more videos out there, and I'm gonna get out there and get some footage for you guys. So once again, from Endless Horizons, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for being with me. Happy New Year, and as always, peace and love from Endless Horizons.